Hi, welcome back. You're tuned in live to the budget coverage. In just, I think, an hour from now, we'll get to know what's on the Finance Minister's mind, the new Finance Minister's mind. Adrian Mowat, who's a long-time observer of emerging equity markets, joins us now. By the way, markets are not bad. It's a stable set for now. A lot of these news-oriented stocks like Jet Airways, Bank of Maharashtra, etc. are doing well. Adrian, hi, good morning, and thanks for joining us. Do you think the budget has lost its significance from a market standpoint? One, because it's just an interim budget or a vote on account, and two, because a lot of the policy decisions, are generally taken outside the budget these days?
I don't think it's totally lost its significance, but it has diminished over time. I think this is the 25th budget I've looked at as an investor. When you go back 25 years, the budget was incredibly important. You also only had 2 monetary statements a year, and you had a government sector that was a much larger part of the economy. So I think over time, the budget has diminished in importance as the private sector has got a lot more freedom to drive this economy onwards, which arguably is a very good thing.
Well, Adrian, how closely would you watch for that big deficit number itself, 3.3 or 3.2? It can be arrived at in various ways. So would you worry more about what's the revenue assumed or what's the expenditure incurred?
I think you're better off to focus on the expenditure and the revenue because the actual denominator, which will determine whether the deficit to GDP denominator for a while, and also investors are a little bit anxious about what's been going on within the Statistics Bureau. So let's focus on the expenditure side. There will be some nervousness on the revenue side, particularly with compliance around GST. But ultimately, we're 4 to 5 months away from an election, and people will be interested to see how populist policies are. I have to say, in talking to investors, the expectation is for popular policies. That doesn't make India unique. We've had a lot of election shocks over the last 4 or 5 years around the world. And I think for politicians to be focused on the electorate at this point is understandable.
Okay. Adrian, good morning. So in that case, do you think the underperformance that we have seen for India, that perhaps is going to extend and perhaps not narrow down?
I think there's a risk that it will. Do remember, though, that India was an outperformer last year. It didn't fall as sharply as the US equity market did and many emerging markets did. So I don't read too much into the relative performance year to date for the recovery from the sell-off. Now, as I look for the next couple of months and consider what might go right for China, Korea, Taiwan, if you get the trade deal sorted out, the recovery we're seeing perhaps in risk appetites in places like Brazil, maybe a better economic environment for South Africa. Those catalysts look a little bit stronger than seeing any significant delta out of India ahead of the election. But remember, these are countries that are recovering from problems, as opposed to India, which has been very steady in its economic activity and its performance.
Fair point, and we hope that the budget does nothing to rock the boat. Adrian Mowat, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We will touch base with you when we have more surer numbers from the budget and more certainty about the policies and how they will be funded. Thank you very much for joining us. We will need the benefit of your advice later.